At the same time, we hear very contradictory statements from Kyiv. They say that they are ready to negotiate, that they continue to strike at our facilities. Could you tell us what the situation is with the moratorium? Does it comply with the moratorium? How much does it comply with the moratorium? And does it remain in force, including for us?
At the very beginning of today's meeting of the Security Council, the President, before moving on to the main issue of the fight against terrorist threats, asked Defense Minister Andrei Belousov and me to talk about how our relations with the Americans are developing on the Ukrainian issue. Andrei Belousov told us about how the moratorium agreed on by President Trump is being followed. On March 18th, during a telephone conversation between our presidents, Russia and the United States, Belousov said that the moratorium does not comply, that the Russian Federation's energy facilities are under attack all this time, perhaps with a break of 1 or 2 days, and listed all the facilities that were the targets of Ukrainian drones during the past period, including last night. I continued in the same vein. The Russian army is following the moratorium that the president ordered to strictly comply with, even during the telephone conversation with Trump on March 18th. As you remember, I said that at that time 7 drones were flying to attack the Ukrainian targets, and they were destroyed by our air defense and the aircraft that was on duty in the sky at that time. Since then, we have 100% adhered to this agreement with President Trump. The list of violations that Andrei Belousov brought to the Security Council, we gave it to the Assistant to the President of the United States on National Security, Mike Waltz. I sent this list to the Secretary of State of the United States, Mark Rubio, and we sent it to our representatives at the UN and the OSCE so that they could show at work on specific facts what the word of the Ukrainian authorities is worth. In addition to this topic, the President asked to tell about other areas of work with the Americans, including what was discussed on March 24th in Riyadh, when experts met with Russia and the United States on the issue of the revival, renewal, and reanimation of the so-called Black Sea Initiative, the Grain Initiative. And then, during the negotiations in Riyadh, we highly appreciated the President supported this assessment, as well as the readiness of the United States to facilitate the liquidation of sanctions, which were created by illegal one-sided sanctions on the export of Russian grain, products, and Russian fertilizers, thus creating tensions in the world markets, first of all, creating difficulties for developing countries for which access to the necessary food, goods, and fertilizers was limited. We supported, as I have already said, the readiness of the United States, which was recorded on paper after the meeting on March 24th, but added specific proposals on how this can be done in practice. Such proposals are absolutely necessary to repeat the sad experience of the original Black Sea initiative with which General Siobhan Butterish spoke. In July 2022, it was approved. Part of the package is dedicated to the export of Ukrainian grain, and the second part is dedicated to the export of our grain and fertilizers. The Ukrainian part worked. All this time, we have kept our commitments to the Russian interests, which were enshrined as commitments of our partners within the framework of that initiative. Nothing has been done, therefore now we do not need empty promises, but specific matters in relation to the access to the port, in relation to the normal rates of freight, insurance, and so on. Our American colleagues are studying these proposals. They promise to respond to them in the near future. The third issue we are working on with The Americans, with the approval of the presidents, is the elimination of the so-called irritants that seriously interfere with the work of our embassy in Washington and the American embassy in Moscow. It is clear that it was not us who began to create these barriers. The Obama administration was also active in this regard, but we only responded to the laws of reciprocity, which no one in diplomacy has abolished. There was a meeting in Istanbul. Now a second meeting is being prepared. In the meantime, contacts are being made over the phone through video conferencing. I do not want to make predictions, but we see the planned progress and the desire of our American partners to remove these absolutely unacceptable barriers in terms of diplomatic practice for the normal work of diplomats in the capitals to each other. Thank you.